Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, here with this fan-based, band-endorsed podcast. And, you know, it's kind of weird. I mean, here we are at the end of another season. But the last time I was at the end of another season doing reviews, we knew there was another album coming out within the foreseeable future. I'm not sure when the band will go into the studio to record their next album, but I'm already looking forward to it. This album here, Chaos and Color, has just been absolutely phenomenal. One of their best albums, as far as I'm concerned. And this is going back to a good, 35-year history that I've had with this band. And, obviously spending the last 2.5 years or so doing this podcast, covering all the studio stuff that they've done in one live album. It's kind of weird. Like there's a little bit of sadness that there isn't something else immediately to review. But at the same point, I'm so excited about this album. I'm so happy to share these songs with you guys. And hopefully you've already heard the album, that you've already got, a copy or two like I did. And you're enjoying it to the fullest and, appreciating it as much as I have. It's an absolutely fantastic album. We have this last song to cover. It is song 11, but it is song 12 if you have the deluxe CD, but we already covered the demo of Save Me Tonight in the first episode, Save Me Tonight. So tonight we're talking about, or today, depending on when you're listening, could be the early wee hours of the morning. We are talking about the song Closer to Your Dreams. If you remember their last album, the last song on there, one of my favorites, I use it in the closing of this show, is called Dreams of Yesteryear. And the last album of this song is called Closer to Your Dreams. So kind of a thought as they roll on to the end of the album. But, this has kind of been a little bit of a theme in here, I will say. So not too surprising. This song was written, of course, by Mick Box and Phil Lanzon. But, as I've said many times, the entire band makes the song, whether it's on a writing credit or their performance in the studio, the things that they come up with, the drum fills that the drummer puts in on the fly, the little, textures in the bass and the vocal style and all that. The song is always more than the writers. But they did have the idea for this one. And as we've seen so well over the years, how well Phil and Mick work together, it's not surprising that they've cranked out so many great tunes, especially on this album. Like I said, this is definitely one of my favorites. And there's part of it because it's like fresh new material. I really loved Livin' the Dream from the first time I heard it. But this album is like, it's just a whole nother gear of writing and interesting writing and great performances and musicianship and all the things good that I can say about it. There's very little I haven't liked. As usual, there's little nitpicky things I have about the mix, but that's because I'm a crotchety old audio engineer who's been doing this for probably way too long. And I'm in the middle of mixing or mastering an album, so I've got audio on the brain on top of all of that, which probably does not help the situation. But in any case, what we've got here is the final song. Let's get right into it. Well, it really isn't right into it because I babbled on for like 4 minutes, but let's get into it. It is called Closer to Your Dreams by Uriah Heep from Chaos and Color. There it is. I've been waiting. I said earlier, I can't believe we haven't had a shuffle. We had a couple of parts that could be played as shuffles, but this is just starting off as a shuffle. It's got a great feel to it, lots of energy. It's really warm and invigorating. I'll shut up.
You're always waiting for that moment to arrive, and there's so many ways that you can go. No looking back now, it'll only bring you down. So many tried but slipped away. Now it's time for you to have yourself.
Sweet. I love the way Bernie's singing the vocal line, getting those nice fill-ins from Mick. Got a really strong Hammond organ, groove and rhythm section. You could not ask for more. And I can tell that we're about to head into something a little bit different. Very common theme for this album is to just go in completely different directions than you would expect as a listener. And I'm just digging this so much.
Don't turn your back or lose your sight on who you are when you're down and there's no one else to blame. There is no secret how to win or how to lose.
You know, I always have a challenge as a drummer listening to a shuffle beat like this and trying to figure out exactly what the drummer's doing, because the snare is hit so light. It's not as defined as, like all the other songs we've heard where it's like a solid hit on the beat. And these are gentle, almost like he's just, gently moving the stick across the head of the snare and getting a little bit of the buzz of the strings. I know that's not exactly how he's playing it, but it has that sound to it. But what I'm trying to figure out is it a double shuffle or is it a shuffle and a half? Because what I'm hearing, I think, instead of the 4 snares, I think I'm hearing 3 snares, and the snare on that final kick is missing. Either that or it's just hit really soft, but it's been really consistent through this section so far. And so I'm gonna have to reach out to Russell, I think, and ask him, but it sounds like a 3/4 shuffle as opposed to a full-on, or I should say a shuffle and a half shuffle as opposed to a full-on double shuffle.
Again, choose the only road. See it and you'll find a better day.
Beautiful, beautiful layered vocals there. I really like what Dave's playing through this too, because he's got a really nice walk-in bass line, but he's finding some ways to accent it, which just add a lot more flavor than just like a standard walking bass line. I really like that. And it's just a little bit louder on some of the notes. And but that's like a pretty classic thing to do for a shuffle. The walking bass line, I mean, not the accents. But yeah, really cool, really cool.
Some get famous overnight, others take much longer. If you think that time is on your side, some have futures glowing bright, others wait a lifetime. Are you strong enough to take the ride?
This is pretty straightforward rock and roll at its finest, isn't it? I mean, you've got a nice little fill-in from Phil Lanzon on the organ. You've got the great bass line, the great rhythm section, really strong vocals. Guitars are playing a really nice chord pattern here in my left ear, and the organ is on the right, which has been pretty much the way it's been through the whole album. There were times where I thought some of the pads kind of shifted into the middle or panned through both ears. But for the most part, it's been Mick on my left and Phil on my right. Really, really nice. Just some really good rock and roll here. Another really powerful solo. And again, I think a lot of what really cuts through on Mick's sound is the particular octaves that he plays in. And, when he's doing the rhythm stuff, the chords over the verses and that, he's playing in the lower octaves, which just add like a nice thick wall of sound to my left side. But here, like when he jumps up into this octave where he usually solos, or that range in notes, it really cuts through the rest of the song quite well. For one, it's something that is new to our ear because we're not listening for those frequencies through the rest of the song because they don't exist. They really just kind of cut in through the solo sections. I thought the beginning of it was a little reminiscent of Return to Fantasy, which is, of course, also a double shuffle. And then it just kind of went from there. But really good feeling to that solo. Not too fast, not too slow. Just fit right in the groove of the song. And it's really easy to, with a tempo like this, to be able to, play a little above it or a little below it and still keep with the feeling of it. And it's actually harder to me as a, like when I'm soloing on keyboard, it's harder for me to actually go away from a tempo like this and get a little crazy than it is just easy to stay within the construct of the tempo and solo. When you get to some of the slower tempos or the really fast tempos, I tend to wander a little bit on, how on the song that I am. But a tempo like this is like a soloist dream.
Your spirit will get crushed beyond repair. Behind the scenes, you can get blinded by the light. Understand how to break the rules. There's so much more to fame than meets the eye.
I liked that those vocals felt a little more pushed to the background on that passage. And then we get that nice fill in from Phil Lanzon, of course. But that had a really good feeling to it. Almost like, I see like I'm really doing a lot of song comparisons on this album. But that was kind of reminiscent to me of the Beatles' A Day in the Life, where the vocals got, kind of reverbed out and pushed a little bit towards the back at points. It's a really good feeling. It's nice to have that up front like we did on the first pass, but it's kind of nice to have it a little more blended in too. And I think there was an extra layer of keyboards in there as well, which kind of, maybe help blend that in a little bit as well. But I like the dual style there. That's pretty nice.
Some get famous overnight, others take much longer. If you think that time is on your side, some have futures glowing bright, others wait a lifetime. Are you strong enough to take the ride?
Well, another abrupt ending to not only the song, but this time to the album. I always feel like the song is complete because it has an ending. That's a nice little delay on the guitar there to end it. Love that last section. Love Mick coming forward there. But it also it makes me want more because it wasn't a more dramatic ending that had maybe a long fade out. Think of the last album, Live in the Dream. You've got Dreams of Yesteryear that had that long fade out with the marching percussion in that and Mick's emotional guitar playing, and it kind of just faded into the distance, and I wanted to follow it. This, I kind of feel like, oh, well, okay, I want more. And it makes me say, if I were listening to this in the car or something, I'd probably say, just put the first song back on. Let's just listen to it again. And that's great because anything that makes me want to listen to it again, the sign of great writing. And an excellent performance on this one, a very energetic way to end the album. I like that they changed up. The last ending of Live in the Dream was a lot more emotional. This was a lot more energetic. And it's good to not have patterns like that. Like if every song starts with just a hard-hitting song ends with an emotional song. Like it gets into a too predictable a pattern. So I like it when things are changed up from album to album. The sound was pretty consistent with Living the Dream. Of course, it was recorded by the same people, produced by Jay Rushton. This one was mixed in Los Angeles. And it sounds good. I mean, I have a couple complaints about the mix, but nothing that ruins it for me by any means at all. I mean, it's pretty minor stuff. I just want to hear a little more bass, maybe a little separation in some of the layering so that it's a little more defined. But apart from that, very well mixed, very well produced. Performances are spectacular. The writing, some of the best I've heard from Heep. It's going to take a while, to get to know the songs really well. I mean, obviously, I know a lot of their back catalog pretty well, but this is the first time I'm hearing. I have not gone back and listened to any of these songs a second time yet. I wanted to, get through all the songs and do the episodes first before I did anything else. And I'm really glad I did, because it was a fresh perspective on each song. I wasn't like, oh, what was the thing I wanted to mention or whatever. It was, a very honest and first time review. Once you start hearing a song 3 times and you start to get to know a little the nuances of it, it's easy to really kind of overthink the things that you want to say. And I find that on my other show, the Haskincast podcast, when I do album reviews, a lot of the albums that I'm reviewing, I know incredibly well. And I find sometimes after I've done the show and I've uploaded, I'm like, oh, I wanted to mention this, or I forgot to talk about that with this song. And it's not deep, guys. I play like 45 seconds to a minute of the song, and then I talk about it, because I don't have the endorsement with those bands to do those songs, whereas I do with Uriah Heep, so I can do the whole song. So it is a little bit different, but I would imagine, once I've heard this 2, 3, 4 times, I'll probably have different thoughts and things, and just as I've gotten to learn the depth and the layers of the songs more. Also, maybe listening to it in the car as opposed to the studio, or listening to it under different headphones will make a difference in what I hear. But this is a fantastic album. I mean, people talk all the time about, well, we'll see how good the new album is. I don't know if these guys can still do it. These guys can do it. Let me tell you, they've just proven it once again, as if they needed to. Fantastic. Also, again, kudos on the packaging for the deluxe edition. This is very durable. It will look great on my shelf. And because, of course, it's digitized now, so it goes on my iPod. I probably won't spin the CD a whole lot. I'll save that for, when the hard drive fries and I need to reburn it to the digital side of things. And, of course, I'll get the vinyl at some point, so I'll have a nice vinyl copy. I will have to remember to ask how that was recorded, if they record to analog and dump to digital, or if they record direct into digital. And then maybe the vinyl is warmed through, tube warmers and things like that to give it that, analog feel that people love about vinyl. Otherwise, it's just a copy of the album on a different format, which is really great for the collector or the completist. But for the audiophile, maybe not as much. So we'll see. I have to dig into that. I'll have to talk to some people about how things are done these days with these vinyl reissues. I just saw, randomly, I saw that Master of Puppets is on sale brand new at Walmart, of all places. And I thought, I wonder what that vinyl contains. Is it the original tapes, the analog tapes that were, digitized or redigitized for this new issue? Were they the digital files that were warmed up so they sounded less digital? What are we working with here? For $22.50, I think was the price. Yeah, I think it was $22.50. What are we getting? That's a good chunk of money for an album that I already own. So, but I don't have it on vinyl, and that's the thing, is I've just recently started collecting vinyl again, and it's a really fun thing to do, and go back and get the collection that I once had. And move on. So I'll definitely, even just for the collection, I'll get this on vinyl at some point. But yeah, it's a fantastic album. Kudos to Uriah Heep. Kudos to you guys for sticking with me through another season of the show. This has been a lot of fun coming back for a couple more seasons and reviewing it. Where do we go from here? That is the big question. All I can say at this point is stay tuned. I announce in a couple of the groups on Facebook when new episodes drop. The Facebook page that I have, the Magicians Podcast page, I always announce new episodes there. Also on the Instagram for the Magicians Podcast. You can go to the website. It's got all the links on there, or you can just go to your Instagram or Facebook and type in Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. It should come up. But apart from that, yeah, I'm not sure. There's been some talk about a couple things that may or may not come to fruition. So I don't want to tantalize your palate with those potentials until they're more concrete done deals. And once that's the case, then I'll just do the episode and it'll just drop. So for now, this is the season, the end of season 30. Doing 25 albums, the live album, all the bonus cuts, anything that was ever released that was recorded in the studio that I am aware of. As far as I know, anything I could find documentation on that was released on a deluxe edition, on a compilation, or anything like that, I have covered, including the mystery album that never got released. I found all those tracks, not great versions of them. Some of them were horrible versions, but I was able to, that was what I could find to do those shows. So if you guys know of any songs that the band recorded that I did not cover, write to me and let me know. I would absolutely love to know. Uriah Heep podcast at gmail.com. I think that's it. If not, you just contact me through the website. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. I have deleted the Twitter account. That no longer exists. Horrible toxic environment, Twitter, and I'm glad to be away from that. My heart is much lighter, just not even having to share anything on that platform. And it's not the platform, guys. It's the way people interact with the platform. People interact very differently on Twitter because it is very, very anonymous. There's no here's my photo albums, here's my all my pictures and all that. It's very much you just put up whatever picture you want, if you want to put up one at all. And there's not a lot of details about you. Most people don't have any other links. And it's just a place where you can just go in and be a child and say whatever you feel like saying without feeling like there's any repercussions. And I just didn't care for it. And I found it an awkward place to follow threads as well. I like the way that Facebook works as far as the threads go, because they're all very linear. The only thing that's weird about Facebook is sometimes it decides what's more relevant, or that you don't want to see all the posts, that you only want to see the top relevant posts. And I have no idea how it determines that. Facebook is a very weird land, but it's a much happier environment for me than Twitter was. And I also like Instagram. I do not have a TikTok. Have no plans on getting one of those. Those are I mean, it's possible. I can't say it'll never happen, but it's not a format that I really feel like I want to dig in. But if you guys want to follow more of the things that I do while the show is on hiatus and waiting for another album or something else to come together, you guys can check out my other shows. I run a podcast called the Haskincast Podcast. I've been doing that for a little over 5 years. I do interviews with different people, mostly in the entertainment industry. Every once in a while, I get to do kind of a bonus show. I like doing a Halloween special now and then, mostly around Halloween. And then some other people that I get to interview that are interesting, but mostly it focuses around entertainment. I also do reviews, mostly albums. I've recently done with Chris L. from Pot of Thunder and John Matola from the Deep Purple podcast. We did a review of an episode of Three's Company, which was an absolute blast to do. I've done episodes on Stranger Things. John Matola and I did one 4-part discussion on Cobra Kai and speculation for season 6, which now turns out to be the final season. But yeah, so the show, it's got a little bit of a variety to it, depending on who approaches me for interviews. Sometimes I take shows that are a little out of the norm. Did a few on the law of attraction. I also talk about some of my own products, my book series, What Happened in Vegas, that trilogy, The Universal Court, which is my only fiction trilogy, and then my book, Becoming an Indie Film Composer. And then, just whatever else crops up, my albums. Sometimes I talk about those. But a lot of album reviews, a lot of interviews with various people, from people that are celebrities to people that do stuff behind the scenes. So I try to be as well-rounded as I can. But again, a lot of it just depends on scheduling, which is usually a problem. But it's a really cool thing to be able to share these things with you guys. The other show that I work on, I've recently joined the as a co-host, is Backtracks Aerosmith Revisited with my co-hosts Corey Morissette and John Mariano. We are going through the entire Aerosmith catalog, trying to pick what we feel are the ultimate mixtape songs. And we've got a couple of different tapes. We have expanded it to be as comprehensive as possible. We've got one side, which is live tracks, one side, which is deep cuts. That's the first tape. The second tape is the hits. You know, which of the hits do we think are like the most important or the most defining for the band, or maybe even the most well-rounded? We'll see how it ends up. And then the other side of that, we each get 3 selections of songs that we want to save, songs that, you know, we maybe enjoyed but didn't quite reach the bar of the other songs that we had on the tapes. So we each get 3 to pick to say, okay, I'm going to save that one because it wasn't good enough, but it's a very important song to me. And it's a lot of fun. It's a very lighthearted conversation. Aerosmith has had such a wild and crazy history. There's a lot to get into. Some of their albums were amazing. Some of their albums were made under very unfortunate circumstances, and sometimes it reflects in the music and sometimes it doesn't. But you know, they've made it 50 years. They're still going. They had a residency in Vegas that they had to cut short. So it's a very interesting catalog to dive into. Unlike Uriah Heep, I didn't know much about Aerosmith. There's 2 albums that I absolutely love by them, and the rest, I knew a few of the hits, but I don't really know a lot of those other songs. So most of the songs that we're doing on the show are first-time listens for me. So it's pretty interesting, and you can find all the links and all of the stuff on my website at scotthaskin.com, SCOTTHASKIN.com. And then on that main page, you can link to the Uriah Heep podcast page where you can go back and revisit any episode that I've done. It's all organized there. There's links to the Twitter accounts for the guys, their Cameo accounts, different projects like Phil's books are up there. You know, all kinds of stuff there. There is a box set coming out from Ken Hensley. It is a 6 CD box set that I am very excited. I'll be talking about that on the Haskincast podcast here pretty soon. But yeah, thank you guys so much for all the love and support, for sharing the wonderful music of this band, your stories, the people that I've inspired to dig into the catalog of Uriah Heep. I especially appreciate you guys. I'm glad that I was able to, you know, inspire you to do that. This is such a great band, and they've had so many great songs. You know, and a lot of people, you'll have your eras that you liked and didn't like. You'll have your singers that you liked or didn't like. We all like the guitar player. That's obvious. You know, he's been the one constant in the band. But, you know, this is a solid lineup. This is a solid, and I don't mean just the 5 guys in the band. I'm talking about production-wise as well. Jay's been the producer on the last couple of albums. He's done a great job with the band. It's really incredible. I love also that they thanked their road crew in the CD. I thought that was really cool. A couple of years ago, around the time I started the podcast, they were doing a charity t-shirt, and I think there's still some available on their website where the all the profits went to fund their crew, because just like they weren't working during COVID, neither was their crew. They're people that set up and tear down the equipment, that maintain all that stuff, that, you know, truck it from one place to another, that deal with all of that stuff. So it was really nice of them to do a fundraiser for that. They're one of the first bands that I know of that did that. And so I snapped one up right away. And yeah, really great stuff, guys. It's been such a joy doing the show. I don't want to sound like it's over, because I'm sure that there will be little things that crop up that we'll cover. Maybe what I'll do is, well, I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to promise anything. Like I said, I will just say thank you guys all once again. If you like, please remember to help share this show with others, anybody that you think might be interested. Also, if you guys go to, you know, your iTunes or Apple Podcasts, that's the best place to leave a review or at least a rating for the show. I can look internationally and see what's done. The only things that show on my immediate feed are the, you know, North American ones, because Apple's really weird about that. It's all regional, but I have an easy way of looking up the rest. I haven't checked in a little while, but for those of you that have already, thank you so much. That definitely helps spread the word about the show. And hey, if you guys like this band so much, there's probably people that you know that do, because we tend to, you know, other than family or people that we've just been friends with maybe for a long time, we tend to, group ourselves with people that have similar tastes a lot of times. Not always, but a lot of times. So if you like the band, there's a good chance that people that you know do. So please feel free to share the shows, share with any groups that I haven't popped up on, and anyone that you think would enjoy it, which should really be everyone on the planet. So thank you guys very much. It's been wonderful. I will probably be back with something or other at some point. We'll see. Time will tell, but I will announce all those things in the appropriate places. So follow the pages. You'll see those announcements. Thank you to Mick for his support of the show and to the band as well. Thank you guys for the music that you have shared with us the last 52 plus years and continue to. We're looking forward to seeing you guys back on tour as soon as you can be. It's going to be something that I am greatly looking forward to. Take care, guys. Thank you so much. Love you all. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!